Girls and girls, here's how we're going to do this. We are starting an official meeting of the Monuments and Ceremonies Commission. It is September 10th, 2019 at 3:31 in the afternoon. We do have a quorum, so we will be functioning as a full commission at this point. Okay, let's take a quick look at what we have before us. We have a couple of things we have to discuss. I don't want to belabor too many things, but we do have the 9/11 ceremony tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. at the 9/11 monument behind the Middlesex Middle School. The public is invited, and there will be some dignitaries there, some local legislators, and also the town officials. And that won't change anything that we do, but we will do the same program we normally do there. We will have the wreath placement, we will have the flowers placement, a few brief words from yours truly, and we will conclude at that point. We've already checked with the middle school to make sure that there's a flag there, and will be a flag. Have with you.
Hello.
There will be a flag there, so we don't have to bring one of our own. Just have to get there. I appreciate anybody who's going to get there and help us organize the crowd to get there, you know, like 20 after 8, thereabouts. I think we should still speak up from the bottom of Edgerton, because I know there's a lot of trucks parked there. You can slip it up. So that should be no problem. It should go up just like it always does.
How long does it last?
15 minutes, you know. We usually start at 8:30. At 8:46, we take a pause for a moment of silence, because that was when the first plane went in. And
If you wanted students to join, what time do you want them outside? At 8:30 then, right?
Yours at 8:40 they break?
8:37.
Okay, so if you get in the room and they get them right outside, then you're fine.
Okay.
Your second period class, right?
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for bringing them along.
Yes.
We appreciate that. We always want the kids there. They used to. So are there any other questions about the ceremony? I think it's pretty straightforward. We've all pretty much been there or seen it on TV. We'll jump down to the display case.
Before you do, you
Yeah.
do the minutes.
The minutes.
Oh, the minutes, let's do it. Well, I'm going to all right. Let's take a look quickly at the minutes that were, thank you very much, Terry. It's so long since I've done this, 2 months. June 11th, Monuments and Ceremonies Commission meeting minutes. Please take a look at them. If you have any objections to anything that's in there, or any additions or deletions, please let me know, or let Karen know. We will, of course, vote on them anyway,
Thank
put
you.
them in, and then put a modified version there if there's anything to be changed.
It all looked fine to me.
Thank
Yep.
You earned every penny.
You should get a raise.
you. Thank you.
My ink cartridges, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ink is expensive.
The key thing we want to mention here is the second to last paragraph, where I mentioned the role that Monuments and Ceremonies Commission, when any town body is approached about placing a plaque item on Darien town land. We will discuss that a little bit more today. The gift is in memory of or in honor of is considered to be a monument. It should go through our commission. If not, then it's not. And it should be placed by whatever group is there. So we'll talk about that today. But they have a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion.
So moved by Sharon, second.
Aye.
Any other further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstained? Okay, unanimous. Now we will move on to the display case applications. We have, this is 2020. The addition there to ones you may have had before was we've got the fire marshal switched in from September 2019. He was gracious enough to move, which is great.
We're all the way up to June.
Huh?
June 30th, all the way up to June 30th.
And I
Yeah,
have
we're all around
one.
the gym, okay. We have one here today from Cicada, from the Darien Chamber of Commerce. Hi, Jim. From the Darien Chamber of Commerce, for a display in, this will be for
That happened.
June.
June 1st to June 30th. Nice. So,
So we are July,
Whose name?
August, I can't remember, but I know May is safe here. I forgot to bring my paper.
all right, so you're going to get an updated list to Karen so that she can update everybody on who's in and
Does
where.
anyone suggestion of anybody else that we haven't offered the display case to? I thought of the chamber.
Wait, do we have an open month?
We have open, we have July, August, and October, November.
I got a call once from, and I think it was from the garden, Darien Garden.
The garden club?
Yeah,
Oh.
that they wanted to do something. I said that they wanted it last year. I said, well, as far, it's all full. And I told them, you know, let me know, but they did.
I'll find out.
Okay.
Do you have a contact? Otherwise, I'll find out.
Let's see, who was the one who called me? Can't think of her name.
Isn't Debbie Cornell involved in it?
Oh,
Shane Sargent?
No,
it's.
oh, she's in scouting. She's in, Chick really likes her, and,
Susan Dell?
yes,
Susan,
she was the one who called me.
what's the last name?
Delp, D-E-L-P-H.
D-O-E-L-P.
D-O, yeah, D-O-L.
Okay. So
Yeah,
we're moving
she had
along.
We have May open?
I think so.
No, she thinks May
May is, it's all the way through the end of June. I know that, I just can't remember who's May.
Right.
And we have June right here for the chamber.
Yeah, this is June.
Yeah, so we're through June 30.
Okay. So
Okay.
can I have a vote for the June?
Yeah, everybody accepting the Darien Chamber of Commerce in to put in promotional items and communication tools for the chamber? Be a mix of some promotional items and communication tools for the chamber. It will include some memorabilia. Since inception, also include promotion of sidewalk sales and the benefits of doing business locally. Is that okay? That's not objectionable, right? Right? That's not objectionable. Is it? That's
Not a
It
nonprofit.
states on the border.
It's on the border. They're not selling anything. They're just promoting
Shop locally.
shop locally. Can we let that go?
I don't know.
Can we slip-
When is it, when's the application?
June 1st to June 30th. Shall we have a conversation with her between now and then?
Yeah, we have time.
No, I know.
It's on the border because it's set up for nonprofits. And even though that is a not-for-profit organization, it's not a nonprofit.
Right.
Okay.
I don't have anything against it, it's
No,
just,
I
I think we should take a month and think about
It
it.
might be tipping the edge of it.
Because if we do approve it, I think we're setting ourselves up to act to micromanage what they're going to put in. And I don't know that we want to do that.
After the fact.
Does the chamber raise funds for anything other than that big?
They
line
do
thing?
sponsor some charity events, yes.
And so what do they do
But
with
I'm
it?
just thinking back, I just think we should think about it, talk amongst ourselves, get some thoughts rather
You
than
want to
say
table it
yes
till
or
next
no.
month?
I'd table it for a month and see.
Okay, shall we table this, everyone? So the next month we have a consensus? And we'll table this until October? And in the meantime, some communication will be had with her?
Yeah.
All right?
Well, if she says shop locally, is that objectionable?
No.
No,
If it's, you know, the word promotional items and such,
That's the
that's,
objection.
but I think the promotional items that she was talking about, we just need a clarification on this, that's all,
Okay.
So
okay?
we don't want her to promote like the wine and cheese thing that they do at B&W,
Right.
right? We want her to promote the stores that she represents.
Yeah.
Think so?
I think somebody has to be here to talk to her.
Okay.
Yeah, I think basically if the conversations are going to be about not only to encourage people to shop locally, but what are the local merchants, either as a group or individuals, doing for town life that is in addition to their business? We're right on the edge of the ice, that's all. As long as.
So Terry will meet with Susan Cater from the Darien Chamber of
Yeah.
Commerce and have a conversation with her, and then he'll report back to us on
Okay.
And kind of like
Chamber of Commerce is involved in 2020, right?
Okay.
There's Susan
So
Cater
we
is on the
table
committee
that.
of 2020.
So
Okay.
maybe they can promote something like that.
Okay, this is table.
Should have had this
Okay,
meeting
so table
yesterday,
it.
I saw it this morning.
Let us move on. Okay, so Terry Gaffney, reappointment letter is in here for all to see.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Welcome back.
Welcome still.
1 more year.
Great.
3 more years.
No pay raise though,
No,
right?
none, that's it.
Same rate.
Oh, I'll give it 5.
We have a couple of applications in here, one for the 2020 committee and one for the Darien Historical Society, which are, the Historical Society has done it before. They're all going to be, these are all in connection with the 2020 celebration for the town for next year. So they've got some good exposure from January, and from a different angle in March.
Yeah, the Historical Society is doing the exhibition in March. So the January one is for the 2020 committee.
Right.
And then for the exhibition for the Historical
Okay.
Society in March.
Alrighty, so let's jump down to Pam Geary benches terminology and procedures clarified. Okay, so I went back and forth with Pam on Park and Rec, and basically talked to her, discussed with her some of the terminology they want to use on the, they're collecting donations, people can sponsor events, and they're not cheap, and then they want to put a plaque on it or something, So basically, we got rid of the commemorating or in honor of or whatever, but we got down to the terminology of using the word in recognition of something or other that the person does fund. So that's what they're doing here. So I said that was okay. Now, you have to realize, we're an advisory group, and we were advising her on this and such. She was very good, very nice to work with, and went back and forth with her several times on emails and such over the summer, and we talked about it. So they have 2 benches that they're going to, they wanted to move on quickly for the fall, for September, which is fine. I think the one has to do with 2 members, or 1 member of the group, one is the group at large of the people that started that home 10 years ago. And that's nice, I mean, that's fine. Theoretically speaking, they can do whatever they want on Park and Rec property. I mean, they can put whatever they want out there. The fact that they come to us at all, I appreciate, because then we at least know what's going on. I don't think they should be considered monuments per se. They aren't really monuments. And we'll have to get into a discussion of this, what a monument is and what a, just a recognition bench is, whatever. Otherwise, we'll have a list that doubles the size of the list we already have for everything that comes out of town. And I don't, of course, want to discourage any group like Park and Rec or Public Works or whatever, putting out stuff. But the fact that they came to us at all was very, very good. I was happy with that. There was a clarification of our role in this. There was a clarification of our role in this made back in 2002. So this was from town council, from John Wayne Fox. So he did give us what he basically felt our role was. And I'm just going to read your paragraph quickly, but at some point I'm going to make a copy of this for everybody to have. There are 2 documents you really should have in your possession. The Monuments and Ceremonies Commission establishment papers, which are just two sides of this. And then this letter is a pretty interesting letter from 2002. I'll try to get it to you. But basically it says, in my opinion, these 2 sections of the charter are controlling in conjunction. He mentions Park and Rec, and he mentions the establishment of Park and Rec, and he mentions the establishment of the Department of Public Works. In my opinion, these 2 sections of the charter are controlling in conjunction with the questions posed in your letter. In other words, if something's being done on the property that's in Park and Rec or Department of Public Works. For example, we were talking about the naming of a park or a field under the jurisdiction of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I believe the issue should be controlled by that entity. Park and Rec. If in fact we're talking about the name of a municipal street, then that would be under the jurisdiction of the Department of Public Works, which comes under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen. So it's pretty straightforward what he is saying. And then he gives us another whole paragraph telling us about what the Commission's obligations are. It has an obligation to identify, catalog, survey monuments, markers, and plaques which are erected on public property. It has a further duty to establish guidelines for the erection of new monuments, which we've been doing. Markers and plaques on public property has the obligation to identify the maintenance and upkeep of these monuments, identify who is supposed to. And plaques on public property, and a simple example of this is the issue with another story here. But it is a further duty and obligation to promote and encourage actions by individuals and organizations that will enhance the town's monument, which is what we are supposed to do. There is a further, and I was handed, and I will mention this now, we were given by relatives of Phil Morehouse a box full of his old records, which we had been looking for, I have to tell you, for 10 years, okay? Box records came because they were cleaning out the house, and the great thing about them is that there's a lot of clarifying material in there. One of the things that's clarifying in there is that there is a state statute that says that when, an actual state statute, says that when something is erected in a town, that the ownership of that thing that was erected, okay, basically rests in the group that erected it. And therefore, they're responsible for maintenance of it and so on and so forth. And I have to look further into that statute to see if it's still in effect. But back when I looked at these, it was. I thought that was rather interesting. You know, we were always wondering about who's going to maintain this, who's going to do it. Park and Rec guaranteed me that they will be taking care of and maintaining their benches that they're putting in. They're really expensive, nice benches and such for at least 10 years out. So that part is taken care of. So it worked out very, very nicely. But there's a lot of little parts to this. It really is a lot of little parts to this. And perhaps someday we should just have a meeting where we clarify, where we really go at this and clarify, you know, how these things get done in the town. Yeah.
Not that I want to create work for us and everyone else, but with the preponderance of plaques everywhere in the United States, a few of them here in town, that are attached to monetary donations,
Okay.
have been proliferating. Look at the wall up at the high school.
Yeah.
Look at the plaques at McGuan Field. Look at the plaques in Cherry Lawn. I don't know that any town entity should be actively encouraging a dollar price tag to a plaque. And I would personally want to throw a wet cloth over that kind of dedication, number one. Specifically as it comes to benches, what I heard differently, what you read from your preamble. It sounds to me like the ultimate decision, what goes on the bench is not with Park and Rec or Board of Ed or DPW, it's with the selectmen.
Right.
It's for them to say, we want to do this.
Yeah.
And what I would like clarification on is if any of those entities come to the Board of Selectmen, that the Board of Selectmen in turn come to us and say, what do you think?
Yeah.
And as an advisory committee, not a committee that says yes or no,
Right.
that we render an official opinion. And I go back to the fact that I'm looking at what you've got here. I know who Peter Wright is.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the Browns and the other families listed are probably well-known to many people in town. I don't know who they are. But I go back to the problem we have with the Robert J. DeLeonardis bench or the Peter Pund tree. Nobody knows who they are, what they did, why they're here. And if this is going to be, whether it's in recognition of or in memoriam, I think that with the application should be, this is who they are, this is why, as opposed to Peter Wright helped us. It's just not enough, because 65 years from now, when we're all dead, and there's this plaque, and everybody's going to say, who's Pete Wright? And I know him as Peter. I never heard him referred to as Pete, by the way. I just think that
Well,
it's no way to run a railroad.
This is obviously something that, for this particular instance, two things. It's obviously something that was already run by the selectmen because of the fact that they're doing it. Okay, so it's okay with them. So our input is
Right.
So that's one thing. In regard to, and I understand your desire to have more information so that we can put something to it, we can attach something to it.
Right, so that in the future,
And
people
I
know
agree.
why and who.
I found in the materials that I was given recently, I found a notebook this thick of all the monuments in town. And all the ones that you just mentioned, that just proliferated, just came out, They all came about in a flurry within a few years, 1 or 2 years, that's it.
Mhm.
And those were all done around the corner. They wanted, did an end run around us,
Mhm.
because we existed
By a
at that
certain
point.
selectman.
Right,
Who shall
by,
remain
actually,
nameless.
by
Ask me
a couple
later.
selectmen, right? And this Peter Pun thing and all these other ones, you learn, all those came about in the same time span, and they were done just the way you were mentioning. Now, so what does that do for us? Well, at least we have some background of information in this book that I have,
Mhm.
of where they came from and why they were given here. But I think the additional information that you're asking for is not something that's too hard to get. I think it should be there so that when we put it, if we do make a listing of these things, or at least if they maintain a listing, they should know why the things got there, you know, how they got there. So, I mean, I think that's something that each of the departments, like Park and Rec and Public Works, which are the ones that do it mostly, we don't have any control over education, I think the Department of Education. But those.
Well, again, I heard what you read different from what you said in the preamble. It
What?
said public property.
Right.
Board of Education, all those buildings is on public land. Again,
Yeah, but they're in another.
of course,
realm,
but
you know.
it comes back to process, because, again, I'll go back to Peter Wright. I don't know, obviously, he had some involvement with that home at
Sorry,
Darien,
that group,
but
yeah.
if we're setting up in recognition of Peter Wright, and if there were a process where there's biographical data being submitted, I would hope somewhere in there, for example, it would say that he was the founder of the Friends of Gorham Pond. So, because Peter Wright did a lot more things in town than helping at home at Darien.
Well,
So if you're gonna have recognition of the individual, don't have it because of what he did for at home at Darien. Have it for who he or she is or was.
Yeah, but I think that the thing is that, and as you mentioned before, I think the thing is that the reason it's connecting back to at home area is because that's where the funds are coming from.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what it is.
but again.
But I think that you can take, I would suggest, and I'll tell you, that I haven't worked with her on this and stuff, and I think that she would be very amenable to talking about that, and to saying, you know, can you just give us a little bit of information, so for our records, we know what this is.
Yeah.
And she can give us some biographical information and stuff.
But again, I found Pam to be delightful, but again, this is not about individual personalities. It's like
No.
50 years from now, there's going to be a new group of people here and a new DPW director. It should just work the way
If
it
they
should
don't have
work.
our archives,
Right.
they'll have nothing.
Yeah.
Because and I have to say, that the archives that I got from the Morehouse family are very, very complete. And they really filled in blanks for me as I was going through them over the last couple of weeks. I mean, I'm looking at the stuff and saying, that's why they did this, or that's why they did that, you know. Now, can I just say this to you also? In reading the discourse in the minutes of those years that I got back, the same conversation came up. The same stuff came up, where this was being visited, things were being visited upon us without really coming through the group. They were running it in round and round the group. And Judge Morehouse, who was the chairman of this commission at that time, that's what prompted the letter back from John Wayne Fox and everything else. He was going at it with the same correct questions. And it's a riot that, you know, what goes around comes around again and again
Right.
and again. So I think we have to, you know, that's gonna be I think we have to tackle that either with subcommittee or to really look at it, what we really want. And I think we pretty much need to go at it full bore to get the guidelines set up for that.
Well,
I
with-
mean, fully recognizing that, once again, we're set up as an advisory group. We are not, we don't have, there's no teeth in it, really, for us. We can express our feelings, our opinions and such as a group and give them that, and then they can go, they're eligible to do what they want at a higher level than us, up at the select board of selectmen. And that's what happened with some of the other ones we came through. Finally, we threw out an anchor and we stopped them and they started to come through us. But if you were to look at some of those, and this is why we do this, if you were to look at some of these monuments or memorials or whatever they happen to be, and I can give you a list of them and stuff, you go try to find them, okay? Go try to find them and see if they have been maintained. When somebody comes in, if you don't give something to the town without having some way of paying for repairs on it or upkeep or maintaining it, It lies with the entity that gave it, as the state statute says, it lies with the entity that donated it and put it and erected it on public land. If you do that, then it's your responsibility to take care of it.
Well, again, to make the point as crystal clear as possible, if Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein gave the town of Darien $500,000 for a baseball field, are we going to name the field the Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump field? I mean, that's what I mean about there should be a process.
That's, and unfortunately,
And I'll leave it at that.
unfortunately, if it's an athletic field or whatever like that, it's pretty clear what the town council's opinion was.
Right.
It has nothing to do with us.
Right.
They get to do it.
Can I, have we ever done, I know we have a lot of people on the committee, but have we ever worked with interns, like at the high school? Because while you're talking, I'm thinking, you know, like, is there a way that we could create, like, a project for an intern to research all of these
Yeah.
monuments that you're talking about
Well,
and create that
And have it
booklet?
interactive, like you click on it, you see the picture.
There is.
And get credit for it?
I did the paper, I put the monument of the month in for the last 23 months.
No, I know that, but he's talking about the ones that are also,
You know, I know.
but that's the only, I mean, you've written the article, but there's not like, were the articles put in the Historical Society or?
They weren't put anywhere, they're in my house.
Right, so I'm just,
And they're available in the local newspaper archives.
It would be nice to have them all in one place.
Yes.
They're in the secretary's minutes.
They are.
Well, she said it's in her house,
She wrote them
but it's in the secretary's minutes.
Right.
She wrote them as a private citizen. That's why.
Yes, well,
Well,
And a
that's-
few years ago,
yeah.
it was done as a Girl Scout project.
Right.
Or a
Okay.
select group
Right.
of,
okay,
the
so
monuments
where
were
is
written.
that information?
And then they changed the town website, and so
Yeah,
now it's.
and-
Oh, so it was on the
really
website.
It was
nice.
put up, yeah. But I mean, I'll tell you something else. When,
Yeah.
at one
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
when they rebuilt the high school, okay, there were plaques all over the place in the high school. And I haven't been in there recently, I can tell you that. Okay, I don't like it going to school anymore. Years ago, there were plaques all over the walls of the old school. When they tore down the California school, okay, and they built a new high school, those plaques and such were all taken and stored away. Now, I don't know how many of them ever saw daylight again after that, but there were plaques and memorials all throughout that school. They were supposedly, since they were the property of the Board of Education, and there's a real separation of Board of Education and the rest of the town. I mean, it's a separate entity. When they took them all in, apparently somebody did catalog them, okay, or did put them someplace, so they are somewhere in that high school. We don't have control over them. We don't have any control over it. I don't even have I mean, there is a listing someplace, but I don't have it. I can put my fingers right on it of whatever was there, but it would be a real search to find it. But the high school, you know, a high school assistant principal or somebody like that, or whoever knows where these things are, you know, there's a whole slew of things there too. Now, what they've taken back out, you're saying there's plaques at the high school, have they taken some back out and put them up on the walls? I have no idea, I couldn't tell you. Because that's not ever.
But I
fallen-
don't think she was saying
No.
of the high school stuff.
Yeah.
She was just saying in general,
Yeah.
manpower.
Like all the articles you wrote, but
Yeah.
if somebody doesn't know that those articles were written,
I know.
how, you know, I would like walk into town hall and say, oh, do you have a file on all your monuments? Or, like you said, the easiest would be if it was on the town website, if all those articles were reproduced and all the work that the Girl Scouts.
With your
did.
photograph and.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really
Anyway.
Well,
straightforward.
It would be good to have.
It would be good to have.
someplace besides my folder.
But aren't you in charge of social media?
I was just gonna say, made a mock-up, I brought it, it's like a really basic mock-up of what an Instagram
Right.
post would look like. I can show you guys if you
Well, we'll
want.
get to that in a second.
Later,
Yeah, we can get
if
to that in a
it's
second.
of like what it would, you know, a picture with some information, with some hashtags to bring people in. So maybe transferring those to social and have those Monument of the Month become posts would bring people in through social media.
You know, I
since-
did
But you're
not
just,
as.
you're just talking about one website or one page that would have a list of monuments, responsible party, picture, any other ancillary documents that, I mean, I think a high school student can do that in a couple of days,
Probably.
given the rate.
Well, also, those gentlemen were talking about monuments that they don't know who the people are, so,
And some background on the.
right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I was just throwing that out there as,
You had the
like an
same thought.
intern credit
But
project.
it was attempted, okay, and it was done, and then, she's right, when they redesigned the website and stuff,
It went
some
away.
links got lost and such.
Well, I mean, has anybody approached the town about reintroducing it, so?
Yeah, but maybe we can
Yeah.
get their
Right.
stuff.
All right, now that we have our
Social
social media
media.
person.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to
Twitter
that in a
shop.
second. Let's just do a couple of other, all right, so the benches, all right, so I think a conversation with Pam asking for a little more clarification.
Rather than that, I'm thinking broader picture. I'm thinking what I'd like to do is write up what I think would be an appropriate process that should be followed by each department. And submit it to the selectmen. Now, the question is, do I do it as a private citizen? Do I do it as a board member? Do I write it up and bring it back next month for approval?
I don't know whether you have to do it as a private citizen, you can do it as a member of the board.
Yeah.
The thing is that you want to really, figure out what
Well, why don't I do
information we
this?
want to have? What are we lacking that we
Okay,
want
why don't
to
I
have?
do this? I'll put together my thoughts, and I'll email it to everybody for comments. Come back to me with comments, and I'll adjust
Yeah,
as
let's
appropriate.
go around, let's go a little bit around the
Yeah.
group with that, and then we'll see whether somebody else picks up something that you
Right.
missed, or thinks you need something else added to it, or something taken out of it, and we'll go back and
Because I think
forth.
just like what
Yeah.
Lucy did for the,
Right.
the application, and so
Exactly.
then that way, when next time you get an email like this, you say, okay, well, thank you, that's awesome, but we have a process.
I agree.
Here's the application, sorry that they want to do it on September, before our next meeting.
But,
Here's the process, if you want it to be accepted into the town rolls of town monuments,
Right now, we can't.
we can't do it, I'm
I
sorry.
think this-
Follow the
this is a good
procedure.
Sure.
so get it around to everybody, we'll go back and forth, we'll do the same thing we did with Lucy's thing with the veterans signs
Okay.
and stuff, and we'll add to it, and many minds will find the best one.
Lucy's gonna do it all.
No.
That's what I just heard.
Raleigh hates
Yeah, right.
double A's.
He's
Let's
good
go
about
on to the veterans application for street sign for Veterans Day. My
You
understanding,
skipped 2020.
I know.
He can do that. He's
The-
president.
I know I should have said that, but I'm going out. And my understanding is that there is a selection has been made, but we're pending pending the
Notification of the family and
notification
acceptance of the
family
time and
such that
everything?
We're going to keep that under wraps now. That's
Yes,
fine.
but I have been in contact with the family, and they are so honored and really incredibly excited.
Good.
So they're gonna get
I
back
think
to
this is
me.
great. So, and you're shooting for what date?
The weekend before Veterans Day, so it'd
Okay,
be
the weekend
Saturday
before
or
Veterans
Sunday
Day.
for our ceremony. I really liked Sunday at noon last time, so that's what I'm hoping for, but we just want to make sure the family can attend.
Okay, so we're shooting for the weekend before Veterans Day.
That's Sunday the 10th,
Mm,
right, of November.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think
Veterans Day is a Monday?
11th is a
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we,
10th.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's awesome. I'm glad you got it. And you have any others in the pipeline?
We do, yes.
Okay, good. So you're not lacking for fodder for meetings?
No.
Okay.
Now that
I love meetings.
it's paid for and ordered.
What about the?
No, I haven't done that yet. No, this just happened where
Okay,
we
so how are
contacted.
you planning on getting that one funded?
That's a very good question.
Well, we have been contacted by your associates over
Right.
at the Masonic Lodge who had offered,
That's right.
but I hit the ball back over the net and I said, at this point, we don't have any specifics. Once I have specifics, I'll be happy to come knocking on your door.
Well, they have monthly meetings,
Yeah.
so I would suggest you contact Dave. You've already had conversations with him and talked to him, put it on his next agenda.
And I've also been approached by a donor who wants to pay for
Yeah, I don't
something.
think there's anything wrong with locking up a few of these
Okay.
donations, so that you don't have to go looking for them just before the
And
fact.
do they make their check out to Monuments and Ceremonies Commission? We talked a lot about that. We weren't sure how to do that.
Because we don't have any.
Right.
No.
So
how did we make
how
out
does
last
somebody
one?
donate money?
So when you paid for the other ones, did the check get cut from the town?
Maybe it's never been cut.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's been cut, because I didn't.
Remember I signed off a bill?
Yes. Oh, that's right, you gave me a bill. So yes, it's paid through the town, but
Okay.
What account did it come from?
So-
it came, years.
So,
Just passing the buck.
can you
So, yeah.
clarify how to, I think it's been done before, and
Yes.
everything else,
It-
whether or
we
not
had
the
to
money,
just-
the money would go to you as money was the ceremonies, or to the town, and then they put it in the
Right, because we
account?
paid, the town paid directly for it last time,
Yes.
but I'll find out. if we're
And the other
receiving
question
money.
is, if memory,
This is good. I'll learn something.
if memory serves me correctly, the police donated their time
Yes, they did.
last time.
Yep.
So I'll call,
Okay.
no longer captain, now chief.
Yeah, they just raised three
I'd be
people
happy
up
to
the
reach out to
rank
him.
Yeah.
this week.
We're
And-
good
and-
friends.
And we only asked for one, and we
see
got,
what
what,
happened
about
last
6
time?
of them?
Last time I contacted you,
Right.
so worked out well.
Putting two signs on each end.
Yes, hopefully. I need to go down there and look at it to make sure
All right.
exactly what I'm putting.
I went and looked the other day,
Were you happy with it?
yeah,
Because they were ecstatic with the choice
Yeah.
of street corner.
yeah.
Well, it's nice because it's private, so we'll.
And
that-
also,
that-
it's what they looked at all the time through their window, so
Oh,
they're
nice.
like,
Okay, and you're gonna handle, when it's time, after the next meeting?
yes,
publicity and stuff?
yes.
No, that's-
I spent some time since our subcommittee meeting writing out the list of protocol items, you know how you do it,
Right.
because we just kind of did it for the first time last time. So I wrote down all the steps, and I'm going to start ticking them off and keeping everybody
Perfect.
informed.
Is that not a good idea to do for anything that is going to involve somebody coming in and volunteering or paying, that they need to have an idea? So if we're out there trying to do something and stimulate some interest, we've got to have some kind of a document for ourselves.
We could probably come up with something.
You
We
probably,
could feature the first one we did,
yeah,
and all that stuff, you know.
yeah.
Well, I think I'm gonna leave that up to the committee, that subcommittee, I don't wanna,
Yeah,
micromanage their
oh,
group. They'll come up with some way to do that, all right, and then we'll back
Oh,
up.
And you're asking for what
Well,
exactly?
you know, how
Just
many-
a list of how you,
What are your
how
guide-
to.
What are your
How you can help.
guidelines?
Right.
Somebody else, I come to you and I
Yes.
say, hey, what's your name?
Okay?
No, but I
What's your
mean,
number?
you'd say, yeah, what's your
You got that line, right?
Can I have your credit card, please? That kind of a thing.
Okay, just so we know how it's
But
done.
This
Okay,
is how
so
it
you'll
all
have,
started when
you'll
I
have
was
more
doing the
information for us
census.
today.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't have any kind of rules of the road.
Correct,
All
yeah.
right, anything else on veterans application for street sign? Anybody out there who's, that can contact the town hall, you can contact the town
Yeah.
secretary at the town hall.
And the applications are on the website?
Applications are on the website, and soon as the other things on the website. All right, nothing else on that? All right, Alan Miller, 2020 mission statement, or whatever you'd like to talk to us about.
So you can all read the.
Any FYI you'd like to give.
Yeah, you can all read the mission statement. We made a lot of progress over the summer. We're going out with 3 mailings. The first mailing is going to be a save the date, and you should be getting it in October, November. It's being printed up actually right now. The next one is a trifold in like January, and then another save the date later on in the year. So those will have a list of
For those
events.
for the thousands of people listening, why don't you tell them what those dates are now?
Okay, the dates are for the opening ceremony, it's January, I believe it's the 10th. Don't quote me on that, that's the one.
That's
I'm not
what's
sure
in the
of.
writing, yeah.
It's an opening ceremony, it will be at Town Hall, the Town Hall Auditorium. Yeah, it's January 10th at 7 o'clock, correct. It'll be at Town Hall in the auditorium. There'll be a keynote speaker. 7 o'clock, 7 p.m.
January 10th to 7.
January 10th at 7 p.m. Town Hall Auditorium. We'll have a keynote speaker. We're inviting not only the state representatives and the governor, but federal representatives as well. So one of them will be speaking as well, the ranking dignitary. We're going to have them speak. And there'll be a slideshow, some other speakers, and after that there'll be a champagne toast at the Darien Historical Society. And this author, who we'll announce later, will be doing a book signing as well. That's the opening ceremony. The next one is June 6th. That's in partnership with the Weed Beach Beach Festival. So we're going to be a big part of that. We're going to have our own tables and events and sound system and things that we'll be doing. A week after that is Anniversary Day on Friday, June 12th. That'll be at the Slauson Cemetery, which is where Thaddeus Bell is buried. And we've earmarked funds to do his wife's gravestone, which is now just toppled over. It's in very, very bad condition. So last meeting of the 2020 Commission, we've earmarked funds to restore that. So that'll be done hopefully this year. And after that, we're going to do a Heritage Day. That'll be a fun, the anniversary day will be a kind of a solemn event. We'll be asking some of the churches to ring their bells and possibly the fire department to sound off on that. Heritage Day is sometime in the fall, and we're partnering with Mather House and the Darien Historical Society. And there'll be a lot of fun things. We're going to have some recreation. We're going to have some reenactments done, and a lot of stuff for the kids, a lot of food, and a lot of good things.
Sounds great.
So those are 4 events.
So the Saturday, June 13th that's in here is
Saturday, June
not,
should
that's
be.
not gonna happen, right?
That should be December?
That should
Or
be.
November?
Where
that
is
should
that?
be-
June
Scratch it out,
13th.
say it's in the fall, right?
Correct, that's in the fall,
Okay,
yeah.
good. That'll be
That is in the
sometime
fall. Yeah, and we're coming out with a press release and all that. That was,
All
we
right.
thought there was too many events in June, and we wanted to be spaced
Yeah,
more throughout
same.
the year, so that'll be done in the fall. I met with the Board of Selectmen yesterday to talk about finances. Everything went very, very well.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
Um,
And anytime we ask for money.
Well, I didn't ask for money, but anything over $10,000, they have to, donations, they have to approve. Right, so I had to show them what our finances were, and they said they will approve it, and I'm meeting with the RTM in 2 weeks. I think they're having a meeting.
All right, so that's something that, how much cooperation, to hark back to point number 2, what cooperation are you getting from the Darien Chamber of Commerce? Because that's something that they could use as a wedge for the display case.
Well, there's Susan Cater, we're getting a lot of cooperation. We have 2 people, Susan Cater, who's the head of the Chamber of Commerce, is on, and there's another member who is also Cheryl
All right,
Williams.
so
is on.
that's the card they should be playing. I mean,
Well,
for us
yeah,
to
I
say
think-
yes.
I think,
Yeah.
I think that's probably in the back of her head. I can't think
Yeah.
for her, but
Yeah.
I would imagine, that's part of the deal.
I'll mention to her
Okay.
that we should have a discussion about the display case that they want to do.
Mhm.
Right. I'll mention to her, we have a meeting tomorrow at 11 o'clock, so I'll mention it to her. So those are the events. We're doing the mailings. We're going to do a lot of merchandising as well. Met with the RTM. So there's also the historical markers. So
Yeah.
I guess we should talk about that now, since
Sure.
that is going to be under the auspices of Monuments and Ceremonies, right? So there's 8 historical markers going out. I got a picture of what is proposed on the second page here. Last time I didn't
You didn't put
bring
my
it.
picture in there.
Pardon me?
You did put my picture in there.
No,
You've got-
I didn't, no.
You've got 8 markers, and how many of them are in cemeteries?
6, 3 of them are in the cemeteries.
Okay,
2 of them are in Parks and Rec.
I'll pass around.
1 of them is Board of Education. 2 of them are, one of them is Mather House and Darien Historical Society. So 2 of them are nonprofits, 6 of them are from the
Right.
town. All 8, we're hoping that we have a sponsor that will fund all 8. They prefer to pay the vendors directly. So that money will be paid to the vendors, and they're going to give that as a gift to the town.
okay.
However, I assume that the 6 that are on town property, 3 cemeteries, 2 parks and rec, and 1 board of education will come under monuments and ceremonies. I kind of talked offline with you about maintenance, and you had said
Yeah,
that.
we tried to just factor in X amount of dollars for maintenance, but these markers are terrific. I mean, I've seen some like this that have been out there for 20 years and they don't show any signs of wear. I mean, so we're not looking at major, I mean, if somebody runs a car into one of them or something like that, okay, so that's town insurance. But, the private groups or private properties that are gonna have these put on will maintain them themselves. The ones that we have to be concerned about are the ones in the cemeteries and other places. Certainly, you put it on Park and Rec, we maintain it, put it on Park and Public Works, responsibility of the land, they will maintain it, but the cemeteries are, in our bailiwick. I can't wait for this to happen because I think it's could really be great for the town, because you're gonna have these things out there. I'm psyched, okay, that this is gonna happen. It's something we wanted to do way back when we started, Tracy knows, when we started with the cemeteries and stuff, we thought, oh God, this needs an interpretive piece here. Well, you know, now it's come to fruition, I'm thrilled. I mean, I'm thrilled that it happened through 2020.
It's a high-pressure laminate, guaranteed to be graffiti-proof for 10 years. You just wash it off with solvents, commercial solvents, stuff like that. The pedestals are aluminum.
It looks very much like
They're all
what
over
is
the place.
down at Pear Tree Beach right now.
Similar.
Yeah.
That one, there's some in Wilton that are just like that. There's another one at Sherwood Island. in,
Are you
Westport.
familiar with the one down at Wheatby, at Pear Tree Point?
There's two down there, yeah.
No, I'm not.
Take a look at it, because
I looked for them, I couldn't find them.
There's a little
There's
park
one-
right next to the
there's
the
one-
lawn.
It's
The ones that are
Ziegler
good
Park.
places, yeah.
The one that I see all the time is the
It's
one
right next to the Robert J. Day Leonardis bench.
I see one all the time when I drive by it, and I stopped and actually looked at it. Bob Montfort lives over in Row 8, and you come down the road, and it's this huge electrical tower, or whatever it is, and all that stuff. But there's a cemetery there, and there's a huge sign like this there that's been there forever, and it is in great shape. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's out in the elements all the time. I think it's wonderful.
The one sponsor, it's a nonprofit, they would like just to say donated by such and such. I think that should be a call. They're paying for the whole thing.
That's nice.
I guess that's about it.
That's good. I think that's great. Anybody have
So,
any questions for
do
Al?
you have all the contacts you need for reenactors?
Yes, it's through Mather, Homestead, and Historical Society, the Fifth Regiment, and some other, yeah, definitely. Karen and Carl Bocadero are involved. In fact, Karen is the lead. I don't know if you know Karen. She's a reenactor. She's the lead on Heritage Day.
Okay.
So there's subcommittees of the subcommittee that we have.
The reason I ask is one of the fellows in my writers group
Okay.
is involved with I don't know the division, maybe it's the same division, but
Right, yeah.
I'll ask him what division he's in, and if you're looking for another, I know that he puts on his Revolutionary War garb and heads off, heads off to battle.
Okay.
That's it, sure.
Are you doing anything with the schools?
Yeah,
As a matter
there's.
of fact.
Yes.
Well, I haven't had a chance to answer Susan Mark's email yet, but I was contacted as an education person to work with them and see what we could do to bring the two things
I
together.
noticed on my grandson's, I don't know what you call it, the syllabus in
Mhm.
third grade, but their first unit is the history of Darien.
Awesome.
So there's-
We're incorporating history at the middle school level.
This is totally-
We actually went to the Darien Historical Society for our PD this year, and it was fascinating. We had some really good speakers.
Yes.
Well,
We are doing a lot. We have to go through the wickets, through the Board of Education first, the top, and then
Right.
top down. We just don't go to the
Right.
individual teachers, so I don't want to speak to that right now until everything is approved. But there's a lot of stuff.
We're gonna
going
try to
on
do
with
that.
Right.
thank you. Really, thanks a lot to your committee for really busting the tail, doing a great job on this. It's fantastic. I really love it. And the cooperation between all of us here in the groups and so on. You'll always have that. Because we're trying to make it the best possible way we can celebrate that 2020. Tracy Rue, cemetery update.
I guess I feel bad always saying the same thing over and over, but
That's okay.
things are, actually, things are looking really good. We're very, very pleased. On Norotan River, Leeds and Waterbury number 2, which is on Hoyt, Leeds and Hoyt are on Hoyt Street. Those are getting mowed about twice a month by the Thomas Costello Landscape Company, and he's given us a very favorable price for doing that. And their men are very willing, when we're kind of there, we'll go, oh, do you mind doing this or that? They're very willing to do that. So I think if you go by those, you'll find that they're really coming along very nicely. And Slauson is being mowed by the adjacent country club, which is really nice. So it doesn't always look 100% mowed, but they get to it, and it's been a big help that they're doing that. And then during Earth Day, which I was in the last report, you know, the Masonic Brothers had gone in there and really done a good job of cleaning it up. We still have some work going on there, but it's getting there. And then 2020 is gonna handle Mrs. Bell's. That's right. Yeah. Sharon and I continue to pick up the trash and like many fallen limbs at all the properties. Besides the ones where Costello goes to, we all drive around to the other ones, like pretty much at least several times a week. So we've always got our eye on them. You had asked about that one, which was Weeds Landing, and that's a project we've been working on since the fall. And it's still huge work to do, but it's really coming along. And
One of the neighbors appreciates it.
Oh, that's
He contacted me and
Okay.
he said, pass his thanks along.
Oh, well, glad. It's nice to hear positiveness and not negativeness, that's for sure. So that's a big work in progress, but that's coming along. That's off of Weeds Landing, and a lot of early people there too. What else can I say? Sharon continues to send her personal landscapers off to do a lot of things, so we're very appreciative to Sharon for that.
Right.
We did have several massive trees, not just limbs, but trees fall, because the summer was really an unusual winter, you know, summer storms. So Sharon got in there with her people and cut them all up and brought them to the front. Town is wonderful, and they continue to help us picking up at curbside pickups, which is nice. And there is a big limb at Slauson, which has kind of come down in phases. So half of it was chopped up, and then the other half we couldn't get up there, but eventually fell. So now, so if you go by Slauson, there is a big limb there, but it'll get picked up. And then the other thing is I just notified Ms. Stevenson about Waterbury #1, which I always get them confused because I think the other one should be #1, but the one that's further up on Hoyt from Leeds and Waterbury there, it's got a big crypt in it, and it's kind of sets up.
Near Heather Lane.
Right, yeah, across from Briar, right.
That's right.
That has very old, I don't know if they're ponderosa pines, or there's some beautiful pines there, but they're very old, and every time those winds whip up, there's now about 4 top limbs that have fallen, and they're stuck. And we can't get to them. But we did notify Ms. Stevenson, and she's gonna notify the Department of Public Works to get to them.
They realize they've got to help us out.
Yeah.
And they do.
Yeah. So, anyway, that one's coming along too, and that's it, so.
So this is a picture of, which you can't see, but I was in the 4th floor of the Orthopedic Associates of Stanford, down there. And so I'm up there, and I'm just looking out the window, and they have this beautiful window you can see right out. And I took a picture of the road and river. It is awesome. I mean, it's like a park. It's like a
Good,
park.
I'm glad.
It is just gorgeous. And I said to my doctor, he started, what is that over there? That's the oldest thing I've ever had. I'm telling him about it. You too can donate now. I said, go over and take a look. I said, well, wait till next year. I said, we'll have interpretive stuff out there, and then you can go find out who's in there. You know, they're all the famous families in town. But it just looks so cool. I mean,
it's green.
They've got, it's clean, and if you knew what it looked like before, and they've got trees doubling up all along the wall in the back, and they've got trees all planted along the other side now, little guys like this that'll grow up to be big. And what's his name there? Bonnie did some on his side. It's fabulous, you know. And once we put the interpretive stuff in there, it's going to be a real showplace. I mean, it's not your quote, a cemetery showplace, but hey, this is what it is.
No, it is. And Sharon's working on a fence for that between Giovanni's and stuff. So that's going to be a big expense, and she's looking into doing that.
I'm just going to go to Lorraine now because I want her to talk about her thing. I'm going to put that on the next meeting's top, #1, and I'm not going to skip. All right, it's going to be #1, but I want you to give us what you have. You can tell us now.
Well, I'm going to preface this by saying that I did not include all of the wonderful information about Stephen Mather, but I made a mock-up of an Instagram post.
Okay.
There's Twitter, Instagram are 2 of the options, but in general, it would be something that would be neutral, inviting, and as you were saying about donations, there are people who used to live here or who are just like cemetery or history enthusiasts who could be willing to donate, possibly from the outside. So when they see these things, I mean, I have a friend who goes all over Connecticut and upstate New York just looking at cemeteries. she just enjoys that. She builds trips with her husband around that, so.
Is she shopping for a new home?
They're so interesting. I mean, look at some of the old
And the
headstones and stuff,
cemetery,
they're awesome.
that a goat dairy.
Oh, that's what you mean. I don't wish like. Sorry. I just meant my living neighbor. But this would be an example of a post. Here, you can pass it around if you want me to. And like I said, it doesn't include all of the facts
Right.
of.
So-
How often were you thinking of posting? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, as frequently as anyone would want me to. I mean, generally people do like a relative frequency, like every few days, every
That
day.
would be monument ceremonies, what we're doing, okay, what we're preparing for, what we're doing, and anything that might be remotely related to us too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything that is a fact about town, anything about the 2020 celebrations or commemorations, anything that
Could be,
is
for instance,
informative.
a photograph of that mural, okay? And
Right.
you say, okay, this week, this mural or something like that, you just wanted to do that?
I would say that there's another commission that I sit on that has a
I
Facebook
think a
page
picture.
and a Twitter
Yeah,
account.
picture.
Like a picture.
And it's fairly remarkable, the number of hits that we get.
She said it wasn't
Yeah.
complete. But,
See,
yeah.
this guy might.
Yeah.
But double check with her that she.
So
pictures.
I'm just thinking,
Well, that's
again,
it.
I'm about process.
Mhm.
If you're willing
I
to
don't
take
use
this
social media, so I
on,
don't know how that-
I would suggest the process is before you post anything, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook, that you just run it by Dave
Sure.
and say, this is what I'm thinking about putting up, and
Mhm.
get his okay, and then have at it. Because I'm telling you, we get a lot of hits on
Awesome.
our.
Yeah, I think it could be a good thing, and I'm a technophobe, no, I'm not really, but I'm not up on this stuff as much, you know, I don't Twitter, and I don't Instagram, I don't Facebook.
Yeah, tweet.
Tweet, I don't tweet, I don't tweet. But I mean, but that doesn't mean that there aren't 99% of the other people in the world that do that, so, you know, I mean, I think it's a wonderful way to get our message out. I think it's a wonderful way to get information out. I mean, for instance, I could see something like, you know, tomorrow is 9/11, okay? Even the photograph that appeared in the newspaper with tomorrow's 9/11, starts at 8:30, just facts, just the facts. And people will react to that stuff because there are people that live this way. I mean, and I'm, you know, I'm getting used to that now, all right? But I think it could be.
So it's an easy way to start. The next monument of the month that you're sending into the paper, send a copy to Lauren as well, and she can, that's already got the approval, and then just put it out there.
Right, and that's why it would be something where I would solicit from anyone
Picture
who
over there or something.
had something, like from any committee, any of the groups who are working on projects. If something, you know, I'd look at something, I'd send it to you, it gets approval, it goes on. And so it wouldn't just be generated by me, but it would be,
Right.
you know, a clear
Yeah, it's always good to
area
have
for
somebody else
everything.
check it.
And-
It doesn't have to be me, but it's always good to have two people check it because somebody might notice something, oh, don't say this or do that.
Right, and-
Or, you know, and you bounce it off. each
And
other.
information to add as well, because I'm
Right.
newer, and if there's a fact or something that could be, but it is, I think, Instagram doesn't really work very well with links, but you can add links in a bio, so you can, let's say, if you're talking about Stephen Mather, you know, expand on something by saying, oh, read a link about this in our
Sure.
bio, or read more, or, you know, donate in the bio. We could just have something there all the time if there's a project or upkeep or something, but, and I think a lot of the reason why people understandably shy away from social media is because it can be very interactive, which can then be very hostile or other, but it especially something like this is just very declarative. You sort of put it out and people don't tend to converse on these platforms as much as, you know, like it, look, give you that feedback, you know,
Right.
like, you can really,
Do you have
we
to
can
have
control
feedback?
that.
Do you have to have feedback? I mean, do you really want feedback, or you just want to get the information out there?
We just want to get it out there, and that's what I'm saying, like, like, I feel like on Instagram, a like is more like, I'm acknowledging this, rather than, I want to fight about this, or that's not a, you know, that's not of interest to any of us at all.
That's a very nice one in here in Darien, it's a VFW. And they put the pictures out, like with the push and pull parade and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's very, very nice, very well done. And at least then you see the pictures, and you also see, you know, the upcoming events.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I mean, I would like you to come back to our next meeting in October, which I don't know the date of, but whatever. And lead off the meeting with something about this, all right?
I also really like taking pictures, so,
So
you know,
let me ask-
I'd be happy to go anywhere in town and take pictures of whatever.
Let me answer a question that may turn into a motion. Do we want to consider having Lauren take over and set up a Facebook page for the Monuments and Ceremonies Commission? And set up an
I would-
Instagram?
I would like to not just put it on her,
No, no.
because, you know, somebody would have to help her out as far as what to put, you know, for the beginning of the Facebook page, you know.
But someone's got to set it up.
Right.
That's the first step, is setting it up.
Would you recommend we do both, or would you say
Or just Instagram.
It's not difficult to do both. I mean, it could be set up so the same thing just immediately goes out to both. And that's a, what is that called? Is that a Hootsuite? I think it is, where you just create one post and it goes out. And, I mean, I've worked with another group before where people just send me emails or pictures and say, you know, does this work, does that work? And like you said, if it gets cleared, we create something, put it out, and it could, you know.
There's a lot here that I think we need to ask questions about or know about, you know, just the whole technical setting up with the Facebook page, who has control of it, and so on. So why don't you, I like the Instagram idea, okay, and I'm gonna like the Facebook idea too, I'm pretty sure. I just think that, you know, why don't you come back to with the next meeting, and you can give us what you, I don't know whether you can mock up a Facebook page.
I
or
can,
what.
and-
Okay, and then we can maybe put it on a bigger computer or whatever in here, and everybody can just take a good look at it and see how you could play with it, right? Because I think that might be something that would get our message out more and more. This is not a small little, you know, in-house committee anymore here. We have 3 subcommittees that are very active. We have, you know, all kinds of things that are going on in here. We're involved in the life of the town in a lot of different ways, which is all great. And I just think that anything we can do to move that forward, that agenda forward, is great. I think it's got to be done. So I would ask you to come back next month. I think the Instagram idea is a great idea, okay? It requires less, I would think, getting involved in the Facebook idea. But
Well,
Facebook,
they really are both the same.
Okay.
Like
Especially if you're
you could
used to it.
simultaneously send them out to.
I'm not trying to start a discussion.
Yeah.
My only experience though is that the Facebook pages of town things that I'm involved with
Mhm.
have generated an amount of yelling at each other in
Yeah,
comments.
that is more interactive.
Yeah,
That's
we
what
don't
I'm
need
saying.
that.
Instagram is more
Potentially could be
remote.
more friction cost than it's worth.
Yeah.
Can you turn that off though, like you?
let's walk before we
Yeah,
run.
let's-
Right,
we should
yeah.
just discuss it.
Let's stick to the Instagram first, and then we'll think about.
I agree with you, I don't like the idea of a Facebook page.
Yeah, and we'll think about.
Well, you know,
A lot
I'll-
of people have seemed to have defected from Facebook to Instagram because it's a
And I
more.
think particularly when you're talking about this commission has to do with monuments and ceremonies.
Right.
You open yourself up to.
I agree with you.
Yes.
I think that's good.
Yeah, political.
I think that's good counsel. I mean, that's just a point. Why don't we work with the Facebook, or the Instagram rather, and we'll let's make a decision on this at the next meeting among us, all right? And we will decide what we want out there, who's going to monitor along with Loren, and then we'll go from there.
Are there costs involved? in this?
No.
Because I don't do
It would
them,
just
so.
be, I just work on it. And now to create it, however, Darien Monuments and Ceremonies is really too long,
Right.
sort of in internet speak. Would Darien and they don't use
Ampersand.
an ampersand in the, so Darien and C would
Or
probably
MCC.
be the best.
Darien MCC,
MC, yeah.
Monument Ceremony Commission.
Well, how about maybe just Monuments Darien?
We don't need to give permission.
Yeah, if there's a name everyone can agree on
Yeah.
to use to sort of try to secure the.
We don't need permission as a town group from
Like
anybody higher
MCC.
than us to do this.
Well, we did it on the other commission.
Okay.
And everybody seemed to love it.
Okay.
Jamie loved it.
Oh,
And I'll see them tomorrow. I'm gonna find out what kind of
Just ask the
blowback.
question.
So that has to do with recycling and energy, so there's no, we don't get any negative, that I'm aware of, any negative
Yeah.
blowback. It's just, we do get some information back, so when we did the food scrap recycling, we did get comments back about how the bins were not set up appropriately, so that was all beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're talking about. We're liable to get on a Facebook thing like, hey, your flag tore loose on the overpass and this and that. How come somebody didn't fix it? It was 2 days ago.
Oh,
I mean, not that
even
somebody
worse
didn't.
than that.
Yeah, I was trying to go easy, okay, whatever. So why don't we stick with the Instagram? We'll fire it up and start it after the next meeting, all right? Well, the next meeting, we'll talk about it more, we'll go back and forth, so we're not rushing through it. And then we'll go with it. And that at least is not gonna have as much, if I understand it, feedback coming into it or whatever like that, which is
Can you
fine.
negative comment on Instagram?
People can, but it really, I think a lot of it is also guided by how the person who runs the page or works on the page responds. And I just, like I've, on my personal page, people have, I'll get like a weird person sometimes or a stranger or a really inappropriate thing, and I'll just block it or delete it or
Okay.
what, I think there's a certain level of.
Like blocking, I'm a blocker.
Yeah, like I think there's like valid criticism, like, hey, can you help me with my?
Just 'cause they comment doesn't mean they
But
have
if
to
somebody's just insulting or whatever, you could just.
Because the
Okay.
2020
Does
committee was
everyone
thinking
agree
about
on
doing
the
social media as well.
name?
so-
And what it
Darien
I think-
MCC.
I think-
Define the
gonna do?
page.
Yeah, we're looking.
Darien Monuments or Darien MCC.
We're looking at something to do.
Okay, I'll see if either one is available.
Stick to tweets.
Okay, is there anything else
Yeah.
before the group?
Dave, we should, because the 2020 committee was thinking about doing this definitely, and getting somebody to do
You're
social
gonna-
media.
Do Instagram.
Do Instagram,
Oh, yeah.
possibly Twitter as well. so.
And those to dovetail, like a lot, like I could take whatever
Well, you
you
know
put
what?
and put it on.
I'm pretty much sold. I don't like the negative going back and forth and stuff like
No.
that. I don't like the
Yeah.
defense and all that. But, so I think
People are really turned
that
off.
we can give this a try. Who knows? It'll help us publicize things that we do. It'll help us get messages out there and such. And I think that that's something that's a very positive thing. Let's do that next time. I thank you very much for your input. I thank everybody for all the work that they're doing on all the different subcommittees and such. I hope you appreciate the fact that I don't want to micromanage you guys. That's why I give you free rein to do what you want to do. I think the information that you bring to the table, from where you're feeding it to us is great. It's on a needs-to-know basis. I like that. And when you guys have finalized your veterans situation, you'll let us know
One
about that.
motion or no?
And I do need a motion to,
Not adjourn, you want to do Instagram, you want to have a motion or no?
I don't think we need a motion on it. Can we get a sense in the meetings, everybody feel like this is something worthwhile that we should be doing?
Well, I think we should explore it. I'm not sure I want to
Should
jump
we
into
explore
it.
it? Okay?
Well, I
So-
thought what you said earlier was
Just like-
have
Right.
them
Yeah.
get set up to present at the next meeting, and then, that's what I said.
Are you gonna be there
Keep it
Wednesday?
private,
It's not
so
open
it's
on
like
Friday.
being
I'll be there
Yeah.
Tuesday.
See it.
Okay.
And then we
Next
can keep
Tuesday,
it
are
not
you around?
private if we.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, before you do that, you have down here.
Jim makes a motion to
Hold on,
adjourn,
hold on,
second by Raleigh.
before you do, you have down here Veterans Day.
Veterans Day is November 11th, and it will be done the same way we normally do it, on that Monday, on the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month. We will get the people from the VFW, I will contact them to have them help us out with that. And it should be pretty smooth as long as the weather holds out. We're gonna do rain or shine, so it doesn't matter.
Where do you do it?
And it's gonna be, it's done right out front at the circle, right out here. Okay? Now, let's attend, do you have a motion?
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Have a good one, guys, thank you very much.